do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome into the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in. Whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith. If you want to watch the show there, you can follow me there as well. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And, of course, 1430 AM as well if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Love it. If you haven't heard yet, today is the last show at 10 a.m. starting on Monday. The show will be moved from 7 to 9 a.m. Looking forward to it. Morning drive. You know, we just felt like the people of Indianapolis deserve to wake up in the morning and hear a good morning sports show. So the Real Jonathan Smith Show will be moved to 7 a.m. starting on Monday. And, you know, it'll be the exact same show. Just me hanging out in this studio all by myself, talking about how Shane Steichen's a really good football coach. Shane Steichen can coach. He spent some time in LA. He was the offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert when he was there. Here is Justin Herbert talking about his time playing for Shane Steichen.
First time playing against Shane since he's become a head coach, Shane Steichen. Just what do you remember about your rookie season with Shane?
Yeah, you know, it was really fun with him. You know, he's so smart and such a great coach, leader, friend, and you know, there's no surprise why they're doing so well. Is, you know, he's such a great coach, and definitely enjoyed our time with him. You know, I learned a lot from him. Wish I had more time to learn from him, just how smart he was. But I wish him nothing but the best. What
are the moments you think back to when like his intellect, his IQ, football IQ kind of jumped out to you as a rookie?
Yeah, I think it was more so of learning. You know, it was my first time in the NFL and learning an NFL offense of having multiple plays tagged into one play and, you know, advantaged looks when you'd get to a run, when you'd get to a certain pass and having both in one play call and just being able to read the defense and see, you know, this is why we're doing this. And I think having that understanding of going through that and learning, I think has definitely helped me in the years that I've been here and just continuing to build off of it.
Did you feel like during your rookie year that you obviously didn't have a ton of experience in the NFL at that point? Did you feel like being around him that he was sort of destined for being a head coach?
Yeah, I would say I mean I didn't know it a whole lot. I knew he was really good, and I didn't really know how the whole process worked, but I knew he was really talented. He was going to get another shot, and you know, I'm not surprised that he's had so much success since then.
Justin Herbert right there talking about the one and only Shane Steichen. He's a good head coach. Whenever he's had a capable quarterback, Shane Steichen, he's found a lot of success. When he was with Justin Herbert set the rookie passing record. They threw the football all over the field. When he had Jalen Hurts put together the best year of his career. When you go by the numbers, they get to the Super Bowl. They sadly run into the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and they didn't have all the guys that they now have on that defensive line, so they lost. And now he's got Daniel Jones, who is probably better than Jalen Hurts, not as good as Justin Herbert. And once again, Shane Steichen continues to find success as a play caller. The biggest argument against you know, the future of Anthony Richardson, because you know that there's some team out there that is going to make a trade for Anthony Richardson and do the whole we can fix him, you know, let him sit behind, you know, this quarterback that we have right now. Maybe in a couple years he can figure it out. You know, the Rams, maybe they call and say, hey, we'll give up a 6th-round pick. You know, they bring in Anthony. He sits behind Matthew Stafford for, you know, the last year or two of his career. And then they give Anthony Richardson an opportunity to be successful as a Ram. Here's the thing, though. If I was sitting in this hypothetical general manager's office as a consultant, they say, hey, Jonathan, should we trade anything for Anthony Richardson? My argument would be Shane Steichen has succeeded with every quarterback he's had, except for Anthony Richardson. This Shane Steichen system is designed for quarterbacks to be able to come in and find a lot of success. And Anthony Richardson is the only quarterback that has played under Shane Steichen that has not found success. Last year, he didn't have a consistent quarterback, Coach Steichen. And they went 8-9. Up and down, Joe Flacco, inconsistent, but could occasionally make a big play, Anthony Richardson. That was what he was dealing with. And look, when you don't have a good quarterback, you're not going to win games. It's just the very simple reality of it. And when he's had a good quarterback, he's put up points. Again, one of the best years of Justin Herbert's career was when Shane Steichen called plays for him and was the offensive coordinator. The best year of Jalen Hurts' career was when he played for Shane Steichen and he was the offensive coordinator. The best year of Gardner Minshew's career came when Shane Steichen called plays for him. He had such a good year that year that the Raiders were like, hey, we'll pay you, a very low, number, but we want you to be our starter. And then he got to Las Vegas and he was the starter. And then he got benched for Aiden O'Connell and Desmond Ridder. Like that is, like that's what Shane Steichen did for Gardner Minshew. And right now he's got Daniel Jones on pace to put together the best season of his career. There's a Colts team that could win multiple playoff games. Daniel Jones is on track to throw for 3,500 yards for the first time in his career. Probably going to throw for 4,000. Probably going to get some votes to an MVP. Seriously, like Shane Steichen is a good head coach. I know the play calling the past couple of years hasn't always been great. Running the trick play in the big spot against, the Broncos, not great. A.D. Mitchell throws a pick six. A.D. Mitchell didn't care that he threw a pick six. Not great. Throwing the football to, Tyler Goodson on, the biggest play of the year, a play that would have decided whether or not the Colts won the division, not his best moment. But looking back at those decisions, I don't really blame him for making them. They clearly didn't trust Anthony Richardson throwing the football last year. They didn't want him throwing the football at all. They're like, hey, how about we run the ball as much as we can? And so in those big spots, they didn't want him to throw it. And they outsmarted themselves. That's what happened. And then, throwing the ball to Tyler Goodson instead of Jonathan Taylor made sense because Jonathan Taylor couldn't catch the football. It's just the very simple reality of it. So while, yes, Coach Steichen has had his blemishes here and there, that dude, man, geez. Big Mike's G-Berry over on X. I'm not leaving. The show's just moving to 7 a.m. So, yeah, if you're watching on X and I worded that very terribly when promoting my show on X, I'm not leaving. The show's just moving to 7 a.m. So that starts on Monday. Anyway, Coach Steichen, very good head coach. All right. Coach Cignetti, also very good head coach. Right. Coach Cignetti got himself a raise. Penn State picked up the phone and said, hey, man, we'll pay you, $10 million a year, whatever it was. This is what I'm assuming happened. This is not any sort of official reporting. But they pick up the phone, call, Cignetti's agent, it's Penn State on the line. Hey, this is Penn State. We would like to pay Coach Cignetti $10 million a year to come and be the coach here. And Coach Cignetti was like, that's cool. And then he calls Scott Dolson. He says, hey, Penn State wants to pay me $10 million a year to be the head coach. That's a lot of money. Can you beat that? And Indiana was like, absolutely we can. How does $11.5 million a year sound? Through 2033. And we'll fully guarantee the $93 million contract that you're about to sign. Jeez, so much money. He wasn't leaving. He was never going to leave. Here's Coach Cignetti talking about his love for Indiana.
My wife, Manette, and I love Indiana University, Bloomington, the state of Indiana, the people we've met. We have very strong feelings about President Whitten and Scott Dolson. And, we've accomplished a lot here in a short amount of time, but still have a lot of work to do. So I couldn't be more proud to be a Hoosier, and I plan on retiring as a Hoosier. And the way that this state has embraced us and our success in football has meant more to me than anything else. So I just wanted to get on camera and let you know that Curt Cignetti is going to work daily to make Indiana the best they can be.
Making Indiana the best they can be. That's what Coach Cignetti's doing, and he's doing it while he's getting paid. $93 million. Jeez Louise, that's a lot of money. I'll be honest, I love Indiana and Bloomington as well if they were going to pay me $11.5 million a year. But with that money comes significantly greater expectations. Coach Cignetti is now the third highest paid coach in college football. He's only behind Kirby Smart, who's won a national title, and Ryan Day, who won a national title last year. Curt Cignetti is making more money than Dabo Swinney, who's won 2 national titles, Lincoln Riley, who's been one of the best coaches in the sport for quite some time now, Kalen DeBoer, who's the head coach at freaking Alabama, and so on. He's making more money than all those dudes. He's making more money than Brian Kelly is at LSU and all these things. So first and foremost, anyone who predicted that Coach Cignetti would leave Indiana because they don't have the resources, if you can just go find all those clips and just tweet at those people, say, hey, and just ask them, what do you know about Indiana's resources? Seriously. They have more than enough to pay Coach Cignetti and all the players that they keep bringing in. Again, I will remind you, Fernando Mendoza didn't pick, the Indiana University because he liked going to Kilroy's. That's not why he picked it. He didn't pick it because he likes Coach Cignetti. He didn't pick it because his younger brother, got to come with him or however his younger brother ended up there. He picked Indiana because they paid that man a lot of money. He picked him over Georgia, who I'm sure offered him a lot of money. This, Indiana is clearly investing in football, and this is what you have to do to be good. Indiana has all the resources that they need to ensure that they're going to be good at football for as long as Coach Cignetti is there. And guess what? If Coach Cignetti leaves and they hire another coach and they continue to cough up the cash, then guess what? Indiana's going to continue to be pretty good. Because that is what college football is about now. Right? It's kind of about your coach. But if you gave me $35 million to build a roster and you gave Nick Saban 15, my team's going to be better than his, and I'm probably going to beat him. That is what college football is about now. So pay your coach, but make sure you have enough money left over to go pay the players. With this payday, $11.5 million a year, he better win a national championship. Coach Cignetti better win one. When you're the third highest paid coach in the sport and you're making more money than some of these other coaches that have won a national title before, Dabo Swinney, again, he's won 2, and Coach Cignetti's paid more than him, then that becomes the expectation. Now, he didn't have to win the national title this year, right? He didn't have to win it this year, right? Even though he very well could. This is a very good Indiana team, all right? But they've clearly given him everything he needs to get it done. They're paying him very handsomely. And if you get paid like that, then the expectations should and do increase. Beforehand, it's like Indiana making the playoff, that's cool. That's fun. Going on the road, Notre Dame and getting beat, that's fun. It's year 1, whatever. It's year 2 now. Once again, this team is good enough to win the national title. Will they? I don't know. The Buckeyes are pretty good. Can't wait to watch them hopefully face off in the Big Ten championship game because I think that game is going to be awesome. With that being said, next year, better compete for a title again and maybe even win it. because that's what happens when you get paid. The expectations go up. With that being said, I am not worried at all. I am not worried at all about, Coach Cignetti getting paid like this, because he's a really, really good coach who is about winning, and he talks a lot about the process, which is a little cheesy. Everyone likes to talk about the process, but when Coach Cignetti talks about it, then I actually believe him. Kind of like whenever Coach Saban would talk about it, you believed him, and you knew that he believed it as well. C-Fitch saying, can I tweet, what do you know, to all the Daniel Jones deniers a month ago? I would say no, simply because whenever I talked about it, it depends on how they talked about him. Because, what I said about Daniel Jones was correct. I said that if he plays well, it'll be because of Shane Steichen. And that has 1,000% been the case up to this point. Speaking of Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, the Colts going on the road to L.A. to take on the Chargers on Sunday. Can't wait. Big game. Injuries are a very important part of this. We might get a redemption story in L.A. I'll tell you more about that in 4 minutes.
may, one day, be a must-listen for sports enthusiasts.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Uh-oh. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X__Jonathan Smith, follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app or 1430 AM if you're driving around the Indianapolis area. Starting on Monday, the Real Jonathan Smith Show will not be on at 10 a.m. It will be on at 7 a.m. So adjust those alarm clocks. Listen on your way into work. Same show, just a different time. Colts, injuries. Josh Downs doesn't look like he's going to play. Javarius Ward doesn't look like he's going to play either. And, that kind of stinks, right? Those are two really good, really important players for the Indianapolis Colts, right? Both guys sadly have concussions, and clearing concussion protocol in a week just doesn't happen anymore, which is, I guess it's not a bad thing that the NFL is trying to protect these dudes, but still. All right, so no Josh Downs, no Travarius Ward for Sunday, and Ashton Dulin didn't practice again. He's got something going on with his chest. Usually, if you don't practice on Wednesday and you don't practice on Thursday, usually, not always, usually you don't play on Sunday. It means it's time for A.D. Mitchell's redemption. Going back to where it kind of started, dropping the football while crossing the goal line, or before he crossed the goal line against the Rams. The holding penalty that negated a long Jonathan Taylor touchdown run. So, time for A.D. Mitchell's redemption. I will be intrigued to see if they call a wide receiver up from the practice squad. Coleman Owen, you may remember him from the preseason, played a lot in the slot. He would make a lot of sense because not only are you losing Josh Downs, but you're also losing Ashton Dulin, who returns kicks and is a gunner. And Coleman Owen is a guy who can play in the slot and return kicks very so he can kind of fill the Josh Downs role if needed, and he can return kicks to fill that Ashton Dulin role as well. A.D. Mitchell is going to get his opportunity, though. And I think he's going to play the best game of his career. I think he's going to be great in this game on Sunday. Everyone understands that he is an elite talent. Everyone understands it. That dude is fast. He's tall. He's long. He just looks like an NFL wide receiver. And he moves like one, and he runs really good routes. And if you look at the advanced stats, it's he generates more separation than anyone else in the NFL on his routes and all these things. He is an elite talent. You cannot deny that. I don't know where they're going to line him up at on Sunday, because Alec Pierce obviously needs to play on the outside. Michael Pittman Jr., he can play in the slot, but I think that you would prefer to have him out wide. And A.D. Mitchell is, once again, an elite talent, more than capable of playing on the inside or on the outside. I kind of hope they put him in the slot, because if they do, he's going to get linebackers and safeties trying to defend him. And he should absolutely feast in those matchups. I mean, he should. He's going to be able to run by linebackers. He'll be able to create separation against safeties. All the very cliche things that you hear about guys in the slot whenever they're matched up on safeties and linebackers, he can 1,000% do. So I would expect for him to play well. He also has something to prove, right? Trying to crawl out of the doghouse and those things. And look, for the first time in his career, he knows that he messed up. He knows that he did. Everyone remembers the interview that he did last year after the game. Hey, AD, you threw that pick six to that Denver Bronco player. What do you think about that play? I think I was just doing my job. I did my job. And you could tell there was no remorse. He genuinely thought last year when he made that mistake and threw a pick six, he genuinely thought that it wasn't his fault. And he genuinely was like, I'm fine because I did my job. Okay? He can spin it however he wants. He knows he didn't do his job with the holding call and with the fumble against the Rams. There is no way to spin that. None whatsoever. And I think we're going to see his best game on Sunday because of that. Overly emotional guys or emotional players. I don't know if A.D. Mitchell's overly emotional or not. So I'll just say that he is emotional. Emotional players swing big ways one way or the other. And when they have swung to the end of, I really need to prove myself, they tend to. And I think A.D. Mitchell is going to have an awesome game on Sunday because of it. Kenny Moore, he was a limited participant again yesterday. I have no idea if we're going to see him play on Sunday or not. I really hope he does. Man, I really hope we see A.D. Mitchell out there playing. Not A.D. Mitchell. Kenny Moore. Because Colts need him with no Charvarius Ward. Both teams are really banged up in the secondary, which is going to make it, I think, just a blast of a game to watch. Quentin Johnston was a full participant at practice yesterday, so it looks like he is going to play. He was limited on Wednesday. He had a hamstring. But look, if he's a full participant on Thursday, then he'll be fine. So that means that the Colts are going to see the full force of this very good Chargers receiving core. Quentin Johnston. Dude's pretty good. Right? Big, tall, fast. All those things. You know, Lad McConkey in the slot. Really good player. Keenan Allen. Been around a minute now, but still very good. This is a very well-balanced receiving core. It's very similar to the Colts, where there's not one, like, this is definitely our best our best receiver. It's just a lot of guys who are really good at doing whatever it is that they're good at. They have a bunch of specialists. And I would argue that the Colts are structured pretty similarly in that wide receiver room. Jonathan Edwards, Chris Lamons, and Mekhi Blackman are in for a long day against Justin Herbert and this receiving core. Getting Kenny Moore back just to throw him in the slot on Lad McConkey would be such a big deal for this Colts team. Because look, those guys, they're doing their best. The effort is higher than it was when Xavier Howard was out there, and I do appreciate that. But this isn't, 9 and 10-year-old Little League or Pee Wee football. Well, it's like, hey, buddy, just go try your hardest. That's not what this is. This is the National Football League, where I don't care if you try your hardest or not. As long as it ends in results, I do not care. And last week, the Colts made Jacoby Brissett without Marvin Harrison Jr. look like a quality starting quarterback. That's kind of concerning. Just imagine what Justin Herbert and this group of better receivers are going to do to this Colts secondary. Like, it would have been very, very big for the Colts if Quentin Johnston wasn't able to go on Sunday, but it looks like he's going to be able to play. In terms of the offensive line for the Chargers, because they've been pretty banged up there, Joe Alt was limited at practice yesterday after not practicing on Wednesday. Jamari Sawyer was limited again, and Trey Pipkins III didn't practice again either. So the offensive line still up in the air as to who's going to play and who's not. At a minimum, this offensive line for the Chargers is going to be banged up. That's at a minimum. This should be a very nice day for this Colts defensive line. They should be able to go out there and just have an absolute field day. Rashawn Slater most definitely isn't playing. All right, Joe Alt, if he plays, he's going to be playing on a bum ankle. I mean, this should be a big day for the Colts defensive line. We should walk out of this game being like, maybe we don't need to trade for Trey Hendrickson or any of the other, possible edge rushers. I don't think that, but that's how we should feel. coming out of this game just because of how banged up this Chargers offensive line is. Justin Herbert has been hit more than any other quarterback in the NFL this year. That has to continue because as of no Charvarius Ward makes it even more important for the Colts to generate pressure quickly, right? Because Jonathan Edwards and Mekhi Blackman, they can cover for 2.3 seconds, but if you get past that, they're probably not covering for much longer than that. So this defensive line for the Colts has to get home. They have to. The Colts are going to want to find a way to win this game. Khalil Mack was a limited participant again, but he is designated to return from the IR. I'm assuming he's going to play. I don't know how much he's going to play, though. That's the thing. He's coming back from IR. He's been limited all week. And, we'll kind of see how much he plays. But I do think that we're going to see a little bit of Khalil Mack on Sunday, lining up. Maybe just like a third down only kind of guy. We'll see. But hopefully he plays as little as possible. I don't want that dude wrecking the game, even though this Colts offensive line is very healthy, which makes me feel good about their chances offensively. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Both teams in the secondary are incredibly banged up. With that being said, the Colts are significantly more healthy than the Chargers are. Because for the Chargers, the offensive line is really hurt, and the secondary is really banged up. So you can pressure the quarterback, and the Colts are probably going to have guys running around wide open when they're on offense. The Colts should win this game. With that being said, the Chargers have the better quarterback, and that matters a great deal in the NFL. The Chargers went on the road to Miami last week, and I get it, the Miami Dolphins are not very good. But they went on the road with more injuries than what they're going to have this week. And they won that game because Justin Herbert was just significantly better than Tua was. And that is sometimes, not always, but sometimes that's just how the NFL works. When you have the better quarterback, your chances of winning are high. That is why the Chargers are favored by 1.5 in this game. I don't care about that line, though. The Colts should win. They should. Just simply because they are the healthier football team. I think this is going to be high scoring. I want to go back here and find the over-under. I'll spoil one of my 5 bets. But I can tell you right now, I'm taking the Colts plus 1.5, and the over-under is set at 48.5. And I am 1,000% taking that over. If the final score to this game was 35-31, either way, Colts or Chargers, it would not surprise me in the slightest. The biggest thing for the Colts is do not beat yourselves. If they turn the football over 3 times like they did against the Rams, then they're going to lose. That's the reality of it. They commit 11 penalties like they did against the Raiders. That was the Raiders or the Rams. I don't remember. They committed 8 in one and 11 in the other. Then you're probably not going to win this game. If you run 10 guys out onto the field on one of the more important plays of the game, then you're probably not going to win the game. If the Colts can just be buttoned up, they can avoid turning the football over, and they can avoid making mistakes, especially in the red zone. No red zone penalties, please. That was an issue earlier in the year. They have done a much better job cleaning that up. Then this is a game that they should win. This Chargers run defense, not very good, 29th in the NFL, and yards per carry allowed. This should be a game where Jonathan Taylor runs for a bunch of yards, and Daniel Jones has 200 passing yards at halftime, like we've seen him have at other points during the season. Okay, I really like the Colts on Sunday. I really like Indiana on Saturday. They're gonna blow out Michigan State. I'm not betting them minus 27.5 because that's a lot of points. But if you did, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. That's just a lot of points for me to put on. That's just a lot of points to give away. Mendoza throws a pick. Indiana fumbles the football. You lose a possession. Maybe Michigan State scores off of it. It's a lot of points. Winning by 4 touchdowns, as good as Indiana is, that's a lot of points. So I'm betting the Colts, not betting Indiana, but I do expect for them to cruise. And I've got a bunch of other bets that I'm giving out that I'm very excited to give out as well. 5 NFL bets and betting and all of my bets for the best college football games in 4 minutes.
The best takes. Maybe. The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. Go ahead over there and subscribe. Maybe you're watching the show on X __ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me there and watch the show there, you can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. Colts, Chargers, Sunday. Can't wait for that. Indiana should blow out Michigan State tomorrow. The NFL, we had a game last night. It was fun. 33-31. Joe Flacco throwing for 340 yards. Pretty easy when you throw the football to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Anyway, my 5 NFL bets for this upcoming slate. Can't wait. Bars. 5 NFL bets. Let's get it going here. We do this every Friday. My first bet of the weekend. I'm taking the Patriots minus 6.5 against the Titans. It is Coach Vrabel's homecoming. The Titans just fired their head coach. And the Titans are bad. The Titans are bad at football. You could argue they are the worst team in the NFL. I seriously, like, they are in contention to have the number 1 pick for the second year in a row. It's Coach Vrabel's homecoming. And he's got a good team. Like, New England, their roster isn't overwhelmingly dynamic. It is not overwhelmingly talented. But they have talent in a lot of the right spots. Christian Barmore is one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. They have 2 really good corners in Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. They made life really tough on Josh Allen and the Bills in that game because of that. Drake May, he's like top 10 or top 5 in every statistical category. Like, I believe his odds for MVP are still higher than Daniel Jones's. And it makes sense when you look at the numbers of it. Stephon Diggs has been a really good player for them. And, Will Campbell at left tackle has come in and really kind of solidified that position. He has bad reps every now and then, but he's a rookie. So their best players are at the most important positions. And I think they're going to blow out the Titans, who don't have very many good players whatsoever. I think it's another really bad day for Cam Ward. And I think that the Patriots run it up for Mike Vrabel being fired for absolutely no reason whatsoever when he was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. As, a guy who covers the Colts, very, very happy that they got rid of Vrabel, because that guy's, like I said, he's a really good coach. So I think that they run it up on him and they cover the 6.5 point spread. Panthers minus 1.5 against the Jets. This is what I don't like about Fridays. The Panthers opened up as 1.5 point dogs. It's moved 3 points, so I don't like taking a line that has moved 3 points. I like where the Panthers are at. The Panthers are good. They can run the ball with Rico Dowdle. The dude's had like over 200 all-purpose yards in back-to-back weeks. Really impressive stuff. Nothing better than running your mouth and then having a big day. Rico Dowdle before the Cowboys game is like, hey, you better tell the Cowboys to buckle up because I'm coming. And he only had like 240 all-purpose yards in that game. So friggin' love Rico Dowdle. Chuba Hubbard, the guy who was their starting running back, he's back this week as well. I think they're going to continue to run the football at a very high level. This Jets defense is not good. It's straight up bad. It's the reality of it. Like, it is not a good defense whatsoever. Bryce Young is good. Bryce Young is not bad. That's the right way to put it. He's completing 62% of his passes this year, which isn't great. Throwing for a little over 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's not great, but he's got a passer rating of 84. They've got some guys who can really make plays on the outside. The Teteroa McMillan kid, the receiver out of Arizona that the Panthers took with the 6th overall pick, he can play. Like, that dude can play. Hunter Renfrow is not a bad player. They went out and got, I think they drafted J.C. Horn out of Colorado with like in the 4th round. He's made a couple big plays for them this year. Xavier Legette, they got him at either the end of the 1st round or the first pick in the 2nd round last year. So like, they've got some talent on the outside. Bryce Young, not terrible. He's certainly better than Justin Fields. I love the Panthers to win their 3rd game in a row on Sunday on the road against a very bad Jets team that has a bad quarterback and a bad defense. Give me the Panthers to improve to 4-3. What in the world? Colts. This bet had to be on the board. Had to be on the board. Okay, they are 1.5-point dogs on the road against the Chargers. The Chargers have too many injuries. Like, that is ultimately what this game is going to come down to. I just have a very hard time betting on a Chargers team who does have the better quarterback and does have a pretty good defense. I have a hard time betting on that team just because of all the injuries. So give me the Colts, who are good at football and are probably going to score a bunch of points. I think the Colts, surpass 30 points again. The pass rush is much more impactful than it has been due to all the injuries up front for the Chargers, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, love the Colts plus 1.5. This is probably my least favorite bet. I'm going to take the Buccaneers plus 5.5 against the Lions. Baker Mayfield is operating at a much different level right now. You could argue he's been the best quarterback in the NFL to start the season. I am very on the record saying that at this point in the year, he should be the MVP. The Lions have a ton of injuries at corner. They're very similar to the Colts. The Lions' top 4 corners all out. Colts' top 4 corners all out. So I know that the Bucs have a ton of injuries at wide receiver, but I don't care. I think there are significantly more good wide receivers in the NFL than there are good corners. Like, the depth at wide receiver, it's never been higher or deeper, I guess. So many guys who can just make plays and run good routes and do those things in the NFL. So even though the Buccaneers are banged up at corner, even though the Buccaneers are banged up at wide receiver, the Lions are just as banged up at corner. So I like for Baker Mayfield to continue to be elite, because that's what he's been this year. Right? He's been the best quarterback in the NFL, all things considered. I don't know are any of these guys coming back here. Mike Evans is questionable. Emeka Ibuka is questionable. So those guys may still end up playing. We'll see. I hope that they do, because this Buccaneers offense is just so much fun to watch when they've got their guys out there running around. At this point, I'm not betting against Baker Mayfield just because of how good he's been. I know people like the Lions, but the Lions haven't beaten a good team yet. They played the Chiefs and they lost by 2 possessions. They played the Packers, they lost by 2 possessions. Neither time against those 2 good teams did they break 20 points. Like, there's a little bit of a fraud watch when it comes to the Detroit Lions. All right, I think this game's going to be high scoring. I think the Lions win, but I do think that Baker Mayfield keeps it close and has a chance late to win the game. And if he has a chance late to win the game, it's very hard for me not to like Baker Mayfield and this Buccaneers team. Last game, Monday Night Football. Please stop doing 2 games. And if you're going to do 2 games, don't put one at 7 and the other one at 10 o'clock. Please don't do that anymore. The Texans-Seahawks game starts at 10 p.m. on Monday night. The Seahawks are the most underrated team in the NFL. I firmly believe that. I think that the Texans are overrated. I keep hearing people talk about the Texans like they have some hope to have some like resurgence. They're 2-3. They didn't play last week. It's like, they They beat the Ravens without Lamar Jackson 44-10. Here come the Texans. No. They're going to get crushed on Monday night. They're going to lose by at least double digits. They're losing by at least 10 on the road in Seattle against this Texans team or against this Seahawks team. I get it. Oh, the Texans defense is really good and they can just kind of figure it out on offense. It's not going to happen. CJ Stroud is going to run for his life all night long on Monday. This Seattle Seahawks defense is nasty. It is one of the 5 best defenses in the NFL, despite the injuries that they have dealt with. They have a very good defensive line. CJ Stroud will be on the run all night long. Sam Darnold, he may struggle a little bit against this very good top 5 defense that the Houston Texans have. But I'm telling you right now, if the Seahawks break 20, then they will cover the 3.5 points. If they can just get to 20, if the final score of this game was like 21-13, wouldn't surprise me at all. If the final score of this game was 21-10, I'd like that even more. Seattle cruises against Houston on Monday night. Now it's time for a segment we do every Friday, the Kirk Cousins Bet of the Week. Last year, Kirk Cousins came out and had this awesome quote. Here it is right here.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap. This is the line he would say. You go into someone else's stadium and you try to assert yourself.
You got to assert yourself on the road. And the Indianapolis Colts at +1.5, they are my Kirk Cousins Bet of the Week, the Kirk Cousins Bet of the Week. It is a bet that we make. It is a road team that is an underdog on the money line. We've done really well this year. Okay, we're taking the Colts +1.5 on the money line on the road in LA against the Chargers. The fact that the Colts are dogs in this game, I still can't really believe. Seriously, it doesn't make any sort of sense outside of the fact that the Chargers have the better quarterback. That is the only difference in this game. And I get it. Justin Herbert should be worth a lot of points. But when you go on the road and you only beat the Dolphins by 2, I'm going to have a really hard time, believing in you. I am. And I get it. Chargers, they're at home this time, all those things. I do not care. Colts, they're going on the road. They will be 6-1 Monday morning, 7 a.m. I'm going to be right here talking about this Colts team. Once again, going on the road, playing the Chargers, and winning this game. And it's going to be another, Monday. People are going to be like, the Colts are 6-1. Are they good? And then everyone's going to be like, no. Look at who they've beaten. They're like, the Chargers were banged up. The Chargers are 4-3. They're not that good. They haven't beaten anybody good yet. That's what we'll hear about the Indianapolis Colts on Monday morning from everyone except for me and the Dan Dockich show. So those are my 5 bets for the upcoming NFL weekend. Patriots -6.5, Panthers -1.5, Colts +1.5, Buccaneers +5.5, and then the Seahawks -3.5. That Seahawks bet being by far my favorite one. All right, so Seahawks -3.5. That's my favorite bet, and then the Colts on the money line. That is our Kirk Cousins Bet of the Week, where we take a road dog on the money line. When we come back at 11, I have more bets. I have all the bets today. College football, it's a really nice slate. Very excited. A lot of big SEC matchups. That happens every week in the SEC, so nothing really new there. But when we come back in 4 minutes, I've got my college football bets for tomorrow.
do this. It's the Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hour number 2 getting underway. Oh, man. 11 o'clock. Just so you know, next week the show is moving. It will no longer be on from 10 a.m. to noon. It will be on from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Very, very excited about that. Today's show brought to you by Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Do yourself a favor. Get down to Holiday World. Check out their awesome drone show. They're doing a great job right now of putting together this, like I said, it's a drone show that helps celebrate Halloween. They've got all sorts of stuff. If you head down there on their Happy Halloween weekends, you can experience their Kitty's 3D Candy Farm, the Dinosaur Corn Maze, and all your favorite rides. Like I said, nobody celebrates the holidays better than Holiday World, so get down there and make some memories. The Colts, no, not the Colts. Excuse me. I'm still giving out bets. My bad there. My bad. All right. So I gave out all of my NFL bets in the previous segment. I'll probably give them out again at some point during the show. For college football, the big games, I bet all of them because it just makes games just a little bit more fun to watch. LSU's playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's favored by 2.5. What has college football turned into? So the LSU defense is very legit. If Garrett Nussmeier had been healthy, then I believe that LSU would have been in the national championship conversation. They have all the pieces that you need on defense. They're just missing a healthy quarterback. And you could tell just in the way that Garrett Nussmeier was throwing the football that he had something going on. He had this oblique injury. Very, tough to throw a football when your oblique is messed up. So if he'd been healthy, then LSU, I think, would have been at the top of the college football world this year. But he's not. And LSU can't run the football. And LSU's playing a backup quarterback. And LSU's going on the road. I like Vandy. -2.5 at home. They have the better quarterback. I like their defense. They're better this year than they were last year. I like them at home to win and cover the 2.5-point spread. This is a weird line. I'm not going to bet it because it's weird, but I did think that it was noteworthy to tell you about. So I figured that I would bring it up. Georgia Tech, they're going on the road in conference play. Georgia Tech is the 12th ranked team in the country. They are undefeated. And they are currently a 1.5-point underdog on the road against Duke. Weird line. Don't know why they're underdogs, but they're tough. And Haynes King is playing. So I'm taking Georgia Tech +1.5. If I had to bet it, that is the bet that I would take. Ole Miss, to me, this is the game of the day. Top 10 matchup, 5th ranked Ole Miss playing against 9th ranked Georgia. And the people in Vegas making it very, very clear that they don't think Ole Miss is the 5th best team in the country. They are a 7.5-point underdog. Ole Miss +7.5 on the road against Georgia. It means that if Georgia was going on the road to Ole Miss, Georgia would be favored. Bizarre to me. I think this is the game of the day. I'm genuinely surprised that Ole Miss is being given a touchdown and a half, a touchdown plus the hook. I feel like I'm missing something. But I like this Ole Miss team. I think that they're going to score a lot of points. Oh, but Jonathan, they couldn't score against Washington State last week. Yeah, I don't care. I don't. This is a very good offensive team, right? They scored 24 points against that still very good LSU defense. I get it. They struggled a little bit against Washington State. This is college football. Teams are up and down. You're going to have weird games where this happens. Indiana only beat Iowa by 7. And they only scored 20 points. Okay? Like you have weeks like that sometimes. All right? So I think that they fix their issues. I think they go into Georgia. I don't know if they win. But I think this is a close game because Georgia isn't Georgia. I think that is a massive part of this that people are missing. This is not the Georgia team of old that's going to have 7 guys on defense get drafted in the first round. This isn't the Georgia defense of old that seemed to always have the best offensive line in college football. This isn't the Georgia offense of old where it seemed like they had the best offensive line in college football and they would just kind of line it up, push you around. And then they would have a quarterback who could make a couple of plays here and there to beat you if he even needed to. That is not who Georgia is right now. The Georgia defense, it's still good, but it's not what it was. Gunnar Stockton, I like him. He's a gamer, but he's a better runner of the football than he is a passer of the football. I think the Ole Miss defense is underrated. I think it's very, very solid. So I think that, look, don't get me wrong. Like Georgia's going to score some points. Like this Ole Miss defense is not like one of the 10 best in the country, but I think it's one of the 30 best. And I think that they get just enough stops. They score just enough points to cover the 7.5 point spread. I think the final score is going to be like 31-27, somewhere in there. I don't know who wins, but I do think that Ole Miss covers the 7.5 point spread on the road against a Georgia team that's just not as good as they were. I think that they're favored a little bit just because their name is Georgia. Texas Tech, they're a 7.5 point favorite against Arizona State. This isn't like a big game. With that being said, Texas Tech, I think they're pretty clearly the best team in the Big 12. They've really only had one quote-unquote big game. It's when they went on the road to Utah. They won that game 34-10. Okay? But Arizona State, they're a tough out. Good quarterback, really good wide receiver, right? Tech, they don't have very many issues. They also don't have very many tough teams on their schedule. So it's kind of tough to find their issues. So I'm going to be very locked into this one because it's just been very rare that we've gotten to see Texas Tech play against a quality opponent. And I do think Arizona State is a quality opponent. Tennessee, they're an 8.5 point underdog on the road against Alabama. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Tennessee plus 8.5. The Alabama defense is incredibly talented. No way around it. Alabama defense, it is amongst the most talented defense. It is one of the most talented, not best, talented defenses in college football. The issue is that talent, it's not being lived up to right now. The Alabama defense leaves something to be desired. They're just not as consistent on a down-to-down basis as they could be or need to be. In Tennessee, they can score. I think this is a high-scoring game. I think Alabama wins. I think Alabama and Ty Simpson, who's playing quarterback as well as anyone in college football right now, I think they just make a couple of plays that Tennessee doesn't, and Alabama wins another close game. By the way, if Alabama wins this game, that'll be 4 straight victories against ranked teams. Just saying, right? And there's many teams in college football. There are teams ranked in front of them that don't have four ranked wins on the year. Just saying. So Alabama, by the way, they're still good at football. They're not the Nick Saban-led Alabama Crimson Tide, but they're still good. Anyway, big game going on up in South Bend. Battle of the Titans, I guess. Titans of old. They're not Titans anymore. USC is plus 9.5 against Notre Dame. And Zach Gray sadly couldn't come on today. But he's talked about how I'm going to be the last person to quit Alabama and how I'm going down with the ship. By the way, that ship is still sailing. And he's right. Like, I'll probably believe in Alabama for longer than I should, and that's fine. And I am definitely going to be going down with the ship with Lincoln Riley and USC. I like them way more than I should. Way more than I should. Notre Dame is better at everything. But I think this is the most Big Ten a USC team has looked under Pat Riley. They're a little bigger. They're a little tougher. They're a little bit better on defense, right? Like they're still going to score points because it's Lincoln Riley, and they're going to score points. That's the reality of it. I don't think USC wins. I do think that they keep it close in what is going to potentially be the last matchup for quite some time between USC and Notre Dame. all of the traditionalists don't like that USC doesn't want to renew this contract. I don't blame USC. Like, they're no longer in the very easy Pac-12. This game only makes their schedule harder. Like, here, let me pull up this schedule here for USC, and then we can compare it to Notre Dame. You can tell me who you think needs this game more. So USC, let's just go through their conference schedule. They're going to play. They played Purdue, Michigan State, at Illinois, who's ranked, Michigan at home, who was ranked. They're going to play at Notre Dame now, and then they're going to play at Nebraska, who's ranked 25th, and then they're going to play Northwestern, who they should beat, and then they're going to play Iowa, who's not the easiest out in the world, and then they're at Oregon, and then they close the year against UCLA. USC does not need this game against Notre Dame at all. Like, their schedule, because they're in the Big Ten, is going to be filled with plenty of opportunities for them to beat quality opponents. Let's compare this to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and their schedule. They opened with Miami and Texas A&M. Two chances for quality wins. And then they played Purdue, who they crushed, Arkansas, who they crushed, Boise State, who they crushed, and NC State, who they crushed. USC is their last opportunity for a quality win on the year. Because then they play Boston College, who's bad, and then they play Navy, who's, not terrible, and then they're going to play at Pitt, and then they're going to play Syracuse at home, and then they're going to play Stanford. And that's it. USC is their final opportunity for a truly quality win in the eyes of the College Football Playoff Committee. So if I'm USC, I wouldn't want to renew this anymore either. Your schedule's already hard enough. This game means way more to Notre Dame than it does to USC. So I get it. Missouri, another weird line here. If you don't pay attention, Missouri's only a 1.5 point favorite against Auburn. Auburn's good. Auburn got screwed over a little bit in that game against Georgia. They score a touchdown. They were going to go up 17-0. Ball crosses the plane. They review it. They say it didn't, even though it really. Look, I'm not a blame the refs guy ever, right? Like, I think that there's too many plays in a game for you to blame the result of the game on one or two calls by the referee. With that being said, Auburn got hoed. No way around it. And I think that Auburn is going to give Missouri all they can handle, because that just kind of seems to be the mantra of Auburn this year. We're not going to win, but we're going to scare the piss out of you whenever we play you. And they did it last week against Georgia, gave Georgia a really, really tough game. And they did that at home. This game, I believe, is at home as well. If I can find it and I can click on it. Yeah, it is. It's at Auburn. Auburn, like I said, just a very feisty team, right? Oklahoma only beat them by 7. Needed like a last-minute drive to make that happen. They only lost by 6 on the road against Texas A&M. They lose by 10 against Georgia. Georgia kicked a field goal late to make it double digits. They're feisty and they're tough. And Hugh Freeze is coaching for his job. So wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Auburn won this game. But I am going to take Missouri -1.5. I think they bounce back after losing a pretty tough game to Alabama. Final game of the week. The Holy War happens on Fox at 8 p.m. Utah is a 3.5 point underdog against BYU, and I am taking Utah. Kyle Whittingham, he's going to have his dudes ready to go for the Holy War. BYU has a good team again. BYU has a lot of money. A lot of money. The issue that I run into with them, I haven't seen them play anybody good yet. And I get it. Like, they have the number 15 by their name, favored by 3.5. They're at home. All those things. If I haven't seen you play and beat anybody good, going into your 7th game of the year, I have a really hard time putting currency on you. So here's who BYU's beaten. They crushed Portland State, crushed Stanford, they crushed East Carolina. They barely beat Colorado, beat them by 3. They beat West Virginia, who's incredibly banged up, 38-24. They barely beat Arizona, 33-27, who's not very good. And now they're going to play host to a good Utah team. A Utah team that a lot of people picked to win the Big 12 before the year started. I hate saying Big 12 instead of Pac 12. Really bothers me. Anyway, Utah, I think, is simply the better football team. I think they have the better coach. I'm going to take Utah plus 3.5. I think BYU gets punched in the mouth early, and they say, oh, this is what big boy college football is like, as this is their first real test. Utah comes out, punches them in the mouth early, and then they run away. They don't run away with it, but Utah ends up winning by 7 or 10 points, somewhere in there. So those are my college football bets for the week. The Indianapolis Colts, they're going to play the Chargers on Sunday. Can't wait for that game. I want to talk about the injuries and how that's going to impact the game. And then we'll talk about the flip side of that for the Chargers. A.D. Mitchell, great chance at a redemption on Sunday. More on that in 4 minutes.
If it's in today's sports world, it's here. The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Just a heads up, just so you know, starting next week on Monday, the show will not be on at 10 a.m. The show will be on at 7 a.m. Instead of 10 to noon, I'll be on from 7 to 9 a.m. Very excited to be moving into morning drive. Same show, just a slightly different time, just a couple hours earlier, you know? So we'll be talking Colts, whether they win or lose on Sunday. Hopefully we won't be talking Indiana very much, because if we are, it'll mean that they lost. They're going to throttle Michigan State. They are. This game, it's not going to be close. They're 27.5-point favorites for a reason. And hopefully I only have to watch the first half of the game. That's what I would like to happen. Will it happen? I don't know. I think it will. Because Coach Cignetti is an excellent coach. And he's now being paid like one. Penn State picked up the phone. This is what I think happened. Penn State picked up the phone, called Coach Cignetti's agent, said, hey, we would like to pay Coach Cignetti probably, I would assume, somewhere around $10 million a year to come be our head football coach. And then the agent was like, all right, that's cool. I'll let Curt know. And then he goes to Coach Cignetti. He says, hey, they want to pay you $10 million a year. Once again, that's a made-up number. To be the head coach at Penn State. Coach Cignetti was like, all right, cool. And he picked up the phone and he called Dolson and he was like, hey, they want to pay me $10 million over at Penn State. Can you exceed that? And they're like, how does 11.5 sound? How about we fully guarantee you $93 million through the year 2033 when you'll be 72 years old? Coach Cignetti was like, that sounds great. Seriously. I mean, yeah. And that's what he should have said. Here he is yesterday talking about how much he loves Indiana and how he's not leaving.
My wife, Manette, and I love Indiana University, Bloomington, the state of Indiana, the people we've met. We have very strong feelings about President Whitten and Scott Dolson. And, you know, we've accomplished a lot here in a short amount of time, but still have a lot of work to do. So I couldn't be more proud to be a Hoosier, and I plan on retiring as a Hoosier. And the way that this state has embraced us and our success in football has meant more to me than anything else. So I just wanted to get on camera and let you know that Curt Cignetti is going to work daily to make Indiana the best they can be.
He's not leaving. He said, I'm retiring here. I'm going to build me a big old house with all of my money. And, yeah. Seriously. I mean, it's incredible. There's really no other word for it. And, I'll be honest, I would love Bloomington and Indiana as well if they were going to pay me $11.5 million a year. I would. He's now the third highest paid coach in college football. Only Kirby Smart and Ryan Day make more. He makes more money than Dabo Swinney, who's won 2 national titles. He makes more money than Lincoln Riley, who's done nothing but win ever since he became a head coach. He makes more money than Kalen DeBoer, same thing, a guy who has done nothing but win time and time again. And Coach Cignetti makes more than all of them, and he should. Actually, I don't know if he should. Right? Like he's, hadn't won a playoff game, but he's done a great job not even resurrecting in Indiana football, just bringing it to life for really the first time ever. And to all the people who said that Indiana didn't have the resources that Penn State does, they clearly do. $11.5 million a year to Coach Cignetti. I mean, it's incredible. All right, and it's not surprising when you actually know the history of Indiana and of the boosters that they have. They have a ton of money. So they're going to be fine going forward. We knew they had money when they went out and they got the number 1 quarterback in the transfer portal in Fernando Mendoza. because he didn't come here because he likes Bloomington. He didn't come here because he likes the bars or anything like that. He came here because Indiana was like, hey, we're going to pay you more money than everybody else. That's why he came to Indiana. And as soon as that happened, you knew that Indiana was fully committed to winning in football. And this is just another time where they're proving like, hey, like we're going to continue to win in football because winning in football makes us significantly more money than winning in basketball does. So they have all the resources that they need to ensure that they're going to continue winning games under Coach Cignetti. And guess what? At some point, Coach Cignetti is going to leave. And when that happens, everyone, maybe not everyone, a lot of people are going to want the Indiana football job. You know why? Because they clearly have the support needed to win in this NIL landscape. It is the most important thing, money. That is what college football is all about. The goal is to be the Yankees. Or not, maybe not the Yankees. The goal is to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are just going to go out, buy every player that they can, accumulate more talent than you because they have more money than you, and they're probably going to win their second World Series in a row because of it. That is the goal right now of every college football program in the country. Their goal is to fundraise more money than everybody else, because if they do that, then they're going to have a legitimate chance to win a lot of games and win a national title. And that is what Indiana has done. Coach Cignetti, that has to do with him, his ability to go to Mark Cuban. CBS Sports has a really good article out on this. He went to Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban was like, yeah, I like this guy. We were born in the same hospital in Pittsburgh. Yeah, for the first time in Mark Cuban's life, he gave money to the Indiana athletic department. He had made donations to different club sports and things prior to that. The first time he gave the money directly to the program, he said, here's the money. You can do whatever you want with it. And that has helped this Indiana football team rise to the top of college football. Now, with all this money that Coach Cignetti's making, he has to win a title, right? He may not win it this year, but at some point before he retires, like when you're getting paid this much money, the expectations only go up. That is the very simple reality of it. So, Indiana, oh man, going to be good at football for a very, very long time, which is great. The Colts, hopefully they continue to be very, very good at football. That's what I want for them. Mainly, that's what I want for my show. Because if the Colts weren't good at football, I don't think there'd be 392 people in here right now watching the show between YouTube and X. I think if the Colts were bad, the number would be cut in half. It looks like Josh Downs and Trevarius Ward are both going to be out against the Chargers on Sunday. And that's no bueno. That's no good. Ashton Dulin, he didn't practice again as well. So it doesn't look like he's going to play either. So it's time for the A.D. Mitchell redemption game. Same place where everything went wrong. Right? I'll be interested to see as well if the Colts decide to call up any of the practice squad receivers. Maybe it's Laquan Treadwell. I think Coleman Owen makes more sense because he can play in the slot. That's what Josh Downs does. And he can return kicks, a very important part of Ashton Dulin's role on this Colts team. So I think Coleman Owen, I think if he gets a little call up from the practice squad, that would not be surprising at all. Still waiting to see if the Colts are going to do that or not. Speaking of the Colts, A.D. Mitchell, he's going to get his opportunity. Right? He's been in the doghouse, and rightfully so. You can't drop the football at the goal line the same week that I'm assuming that Coach Steichen really emphasized, hey, let's not fumble the football this week. Let's not drop the football at the goal line. Let's not be Deshaun Jackson, who is apparently the most influential player in the history of the NFL. Let's not do that this week. And A.D. Mitchell did it. And now he's in the doghouse. The holding call didn't help. And he's probably going to get an opportunity at some point to play. I don't know if they start him. If they play Coleman Owen over him, that'll be a bit much for me. But everyone understands how elite of a talent A.D. Mitchell is. And you can just see it, man. Blazing fast, good hands, tall, long, can make contested catches, if you look at the advanced stats, it's like, yeah, this guy creates more separation than everybody else when they run routes. And it's like, oh, sounds like this guy should be pretty good. I don't know if he's good, but I know that he's talented. And look, I don't know what the Colts are going to do with him on Sunday. I don't know if they're going to put him in the slot. I don't know if they're going to move Michael Pittman Jr. inside. Alec Pierce is going to stay on the outside. I don't know where they're going to put him at. But if I kind of hope that they put him in the slot, just because he's going to get linebackers and safeties on him, and he should absolutely feast in those spots. For all the cliche things that you hear whenever a linebacker is defending anybody. Just slower. Look at all the separation. Like, he just doesn't have the foot speed to keep up with this guy. All those things. He also has something to prove. For the first time in A.D. Mitchell's career, he knows and understands that he messed up in a big way. Say, well, Jonathan, what about last year against Denver? He threw that pick six. Yeah. And then in the interview after the game, he was like, I did my job. And you could tell that he really meant that. Like, he wasn't just like upset and trying to get a no. He meant it when he said, no. I was just doing my job. There is no way possible to spin the mistake that he made on, two Sundays ago against the Rams. No way to spin it. No way to say, if they hadn't covered the football in oil, nope, nothing like that. Nothing like that. He knows that he messed up. And A.D. Mitchell seems like an emotional guy. He gets drafted, doing the interview, and they're like, you don't seem happy. He's like, I'm pissed because I fell into the second round. Right? And what did he do? He came out, had a great, camp his rookie year, right? And then, it didn't carry over into the season. But I do think that A.D. Mitchell is like some of the guys that I played with growing up, where they're emotional and talented, and when their emotions swing in a I'm going to show you kind of manner, they play great. And I think we're going to get a really good game from him on Sunday. I think we're going to get the best game of his career up till this point. With that being said, he hasn't really had any great games, right? So that's not really saying much, but I do think we're going to get a really good version of A.D. Mitchell on Sunday as he tries to right his wrongs on the road against a very good Los Angeles Chargers team. Kenny Moore, a guy that we're kind of waiting to see if he's going to play or not. He's practiced Wednesday, and he practiced yesterday. Very intrigued to see how much he practiced today. He was limited on Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully he's a full go today, and he's able to play on Sunday because the Colts desperately need him with all of the injuries that they have in the secondary. Travarius Ward probably not going to play. He's got a concussion. So it's going to be Mekhi Blackman and Jonathan Edwards and Chris Lamons right now. Those are your two corners and your nickel. They need Kenny Moore. Just no other way to put it. Like that guy he's very important. And the Chargers are going to have Ladd McConkey out there getting ready to go. And they need him in a desperate way. Because this Colts secondary, they're in to get absolutely crushed. Because the Chargers, while they do have injuries, that wide receiver room is very healthy. Quentin Johnston was a full participant at practice yesterday. That means he's probably going to play. And it means that the Colts are going to see the full force of Justin Herbert and his three best wide receivers. Quentin Johnston is the deep threat. Ladd McConkey, fast slot guy. He's their version of Josh Downs. And then you've got Keenan Allen, who's their Michael Pittman Jr., bigger dude, runs good routes over the middle, can kind of do a little bit of everything. It's a lot like the Colts receiving core. No real star, but everybody has their defined role. And they are going to they're going to tear up the back end of this Colts defense. Jonathan Edwards, Chris Lamons, and Mekhi Blackman are in for a long day on Sunday. They made Jacoby Brissett without Marvin Harrison Jr. look like a quality starting quarterback last week. Just imagine what Justin Herbert and his full slew of receivers are going to do to this Colts defense, and that is ultimately why the Colts are dogs. It's because they're super banged up on the back end, and the Chargers are very healthy at quarterback and wide receiver. But there is a way for the Colts to impact this. Joe Alt was a limited participant yesterday after not practicing on Wednesday. Jamari Sawyer, another offensive lineman, he was limited again. Trey Pipkins, he didn't practice again. So the offensive line for the Chargers, at a minimum, will be beat up. This could and should be a big day for this Indianapolis Colts defensive line. I want to walk away from this game being like, I don't think they need to trade for Hendrickson anymore. That won't be true. They'll have generated a ton of pressures because this offensive line for the Chargers is so banged up. But that's what I want it to feel like. And it needs to look that way because, once again, like the back end of this Colts defense is they're in to get, they're in to get sliced up pretty good. Unless this defensive line can generate some pressure, it's very possible. Justin Herbert has been hit more than any other quarterback in the NFL so far this season. Okay, so like this offensive line has not held up. That Colts defensive line has to get home. It has to happen. This defensive line is healthy. Chargers offensive line is not. It needs to be a big day for them. Khalil Mack, speaking of big days and playing on the defensive line, Khalil Mack was a limited participant again, but he's designated to return from IR for the Chargers. I'm assuming he's going to play because he is returning from IR. I don't know how much. Wouldn't surprise me if he was like a third down only kind of guy. That would make a lot of sense, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. So very excited for the rest of the Colts season. Very excited for the future of Indiana football. I like them both to win on Saturday and Sunday. Someone asked in the YouTube chat if anyone had any Indiana, Michigan State score predictions. A lot to a little. It's really all that I've got for you. I'm not going to bet it because 27.5 points is a lot. I'd be more willing to bet, the over 52.5 before I bet Indiana minus 27.5. So a lot to a little. There's my prediction for the Indiana and Michigan State game. Oh, man. Can't wait. Just a great weekend of football. We had a really fun game last night as well. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, NFL bets, and maybe a little bit on Coach Shane Steichen as well.
Weekdays at noon. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Now, this is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
Welcome back to the Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. Thank you for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, maybe you're watching the show on X, _ Jonathan Smith, to follow me there and watch the show there. You can also listen on that Indy Sports Ticket app. Just a heads up, starting on Monday, the show will be on from 7 to 9 a.m. It'll no longer be on from 10 to noon. 7 to 9 a.m. starting on Monday. I don't know why I'm saying this, because I just know Monday, like 10:30, I'm going to check my phone, and I'm going to have all these tweets from people being like, hey, Jonathan, why aren't you on the air today? And I'm going to be like, I said it like 37 times last week that the show was moving. Did you not listen? And the answer is going to be yes, you did listen. You just have more important things going on in your life than what time my show is on. So, yeah, Monday, 7 to 9 a.m. Can't wait. I also can't wait just for the weekend. We just got so much good football going on. NFL games. Here are my 5 NFL bets for the week to close out the show. Dan Dockich, he'll have more from noon to 3. He'll give his moon drops sure shot of the week at some point. It'll be great. But here are my 5 NFL bets, and we'll close it out with the Kirk Cousins bet of the week. The first bet I'm absolutely taking is the Patriots -6.5 on the road against the Tennessee Titans. It is head coach Mike Vrabel's first game back at Tennessee since he was fired by Tennessee. Now, when the move happened, I wasn't exactly like upset about it, because Mike Vrabel is an excellent head coach, and I want for the AFC South to be filled with bad head coaches and bad quarterbacks. Because if it is, then that means that the Colts are going to win more games. And that means that the Colts are going to make the playoffs and all those things. Okay, so they fire him. They bring in Brian Callahan. They then fire Brian Callahan. And now Coach Vrabel is about to come in here or go into Tennessee and blow their doors off. That is what is going to happen on Sunday. I think they're going to run it up. Titans just fired their coach. Cam Ward continues to struggle. The Patriots don't have like an overwhelmingly great roster, but all of their best players play very important positions. Drake May at quarterback has gotten off to a really good start this year. Stephon Diggs has had a good year. They have 2 excellent corners. Like they gave the Bills fits because of that. Christian Barmore or Barrymore, however you say it, he's an absolute monster coming off the edge. So, like the positions that are good, the positions that are important, the Patriots are very, very good at. So I like them -6.5. I think they win this game like 21-10, something like that. I really like this New England Patriots defense. The next game that I've got written down here, I'm taking the Panthers -1.5 against the Jets. That's the issue with these games with doing this on Fridays. Okay, that's the issue with it. The Panthers opened as 1.5-point underdogs, and it swung a full 3 points. And I would have loved to have done this earlier in the week and said the Panthers +1.5. They're good. They can run the football. The Panthers can with Rico Dowdle, who's had a couple of really good weeks. Chuba Hubbard is back. He was their starting running back. I'm assuming it's going to be Rico going forward now just because of the pure dominance he's shown. He's had over 200 yards of total offense these last 2 weeks. So hard not to like him there. So I think that they're going to run the ball against this bad Jets defense. Bryce Young has been serviceable this year. 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, thrown for about 1,100 yards, completing 63% of his passes. Teteroa McMillan, the rookie receiver out of Arizona, having a really nice start to the year. So, like this Panthers team, they're slowly kind of piecing it together. J.C. Horn, one of the better corners in football. So I think the Panthers have the better defense in this game, and I think they have the better quarterback. Sorry, Justin Fields, you're just not very good. I love the Panthers to win their 3rd game in a row on Sunday and to cover that 1.5-point spread. Taking the Colts plus 1.5 on the road against the Chargers. I've said this multiple times this week. There's just way too many injuries. Way too many injuries for me to not take the Colts in this game. That's the very simple reality of it. Okay? There's too many injuries for the Chargers for me to not take the Colts here. I don't care that they're underdogs. I don't care that they're on the road. Don't care about any of it. The Colts are healthier. I'm taking the healthier team. And quite frankly, a team that might just flat out be better than the Chargers are. So I think the Colts break 30 again. I think this is a really high-scoring game. If the final score was like 35-31, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think the difference, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, I think the difference is going to be the Colts pass rush. Very weird for me to say, I know. But that Chargers offensive line, super banged up. I think that Latu and those guys get home just enough for the Colts to win like 35-31 or somewhere around there. I'm definitely taking over 48.5 points. I'm definitely doing that. The Buccaneers, I'm taking them plus 5.5 against the Lions. Baker Mayfield's operating at a different level than everybody else right now. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's the MVP for me at this point in the year. And you said, well, Jonathan, what about all the injuries? The Lions are extremely banged up at corner. They're like the Colts. The Lions' 4 best corners aren't playing. They're running Rock Ya-Sin out there. I mean, come on. I'm betting against Rock Ya-Sin when Baker Mayfield is the quarterback. I understand that the Bucs have a lot of injuries at wide receiver. Emeka Egbuka is questionable. Mike Evans is questionable as well. So those guys might play. If they have one of them, I definitely love this bet. If they have both, they may win outright. Seriously. Okay. But even if none of them play, because it doesn't look like Chris Godwin is going to play, but even if they don't, I think there is a significantly greater number of good wide receivers in the NFL than there are great corners. So even if it's the Buccaneers backups against the Lions backups, I still like the Buccaneers there. I'm just at a point where I'm not betting against Baker. Not doing it. I don't know if they'll win, but I do like them to keep it close and for Baker Mayfield to have a chance late to make a play. And if he has a chance late, I don't think there's a guy in the NFL right now that you would want to have the football more than Baker Mayfield, just based off of how he has performed this year in those spots. I am not convinced that the Lions are as good as what everyone else thinks. I know they're 4-2, but they've played 2 good teams, the Chiefs and the Packers. They lost each game by 2 touchdowns or more and didn't break 20 points in either one of those games. Now, they'll break 20 against the Buccaneers because their defense is banged up, but I think this is a shootout, and I think that the Buccaneers just score enough points to cover that 5.5 point spread. Okay. Final game of the week that I'm betting, the Monday Night Football game, the other Monday Night Football game, because Buccaneers-Lions is also Monday Night Football. The Texans play the Seahawks at 10 o'clock. And I hate it so much. I do. I just like why are we playing games that late? I don't like it at all. Anyway, I'm taking the Seahawks minus 3.5. I think the Seahawks are the most underrated team in the NFL. And I think the Texans are overrated. Anyone talking about the Texans making like a late season surge or anything like that just didn't watch the Texans' first 5 games. They're not turning it around. That offensive line is too terrible. Unless they can manufacture a trade to bring in 5 new offensive linemen, it is not going to get any better for them. It's just not going to happen. Okay, I think CJ Stroud is going to be running for his life all night on Monday night. Sam Darnold probably going to struggle a little bit against this Texans defense. Can't wait to watch Derek Stingley Jr. try to match up with and defend Jackson Smith and Jigba. Right, Derek Stingley's one of the best corners in the NFL. Jackson Smith and Jigba has an outside chance at winning Offensive Player of the Year. So that matchup's going to be fun. With that being said, if the Seahawks break 20 points, then I think they cover the 3.5 point spread. I think the final score of this game is going to be like 21-13, somewhere in there. I just don't see the Texans having enough success on offense to cover the 3.5 points. And finally, We've got the Kirk Cousins bet of the week. Every week we take a road team on the money line, or a road underdog on the money line to win, because Kirk Cousins said this last year.
Walk into your trap, take over your trap. Was the line he would say. You go into someone else's stadium and you try to assert yourself.
You try to assert yourself. Walk in their trap, take over their trap. And look, I've been talking about it all week. I'm taking the Colts on the money line to go into LA and beat the Chargers. I think we get a big game from A.D. Mitchell and Daniel Jones against this very banged up, very banged up Chargers secondary. Chargers run defense this year hasn't been very good, giving up about 5 yards a carry. I think we get a big day from Jonathan Taylor as well. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Once again, I think the Colts pass rush ends up being the difference. I think they get home against a very banged up, very injured offensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers. And I can't wait. I'm very, very excited for it. That's going to do it here on The Real Jonathan Smith Show. Monday, I will not be on at 10 a.m. I will be on at 7 a.m. And the show will be done at 9. The Dan Dockett Show will still be on from noon to 3. Speaking of the Dan Dockett Show, his show comes up next. Going to be a great day. Just going to be a great day. Talking Colts versus Chargers. Talking about the Coach Cignetti. He's not leaving or anything like that. So, like I said, just going to be a great day on the Dan Dockett Show. It comes your way next. Again, 7 a.m. on Monday. Not 10, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The Real Jonathan Smith Show is changing times. Hopefully, I will get to talk to you on Monday starting at 7 a.m. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way next.